The Milwaukee Bucks are currently flying under everyone's radar in the NBA. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people don't know that they're a great team or don't know that they're a good team, but I just think that a lot of people either, one, don't have them as, like, gonna win the finals. Like, nobody has them as final favorites. And then also, I think some of the players on the roster don't get nearly the love that they actually deserve. Like, this is your radar, and this is the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're just flying right under it, and no one's really talking about them. As look at Giannis, for example. Giannis has been one of the, if not the most dominant player in the NBA this year on both ways of the floor, defense and offense. Yet he has been out of every real MVP talk pretty much the entire year. Like, look at the two guys is Embiid and Nikola Jokic. That's the two MVP candidates. And Jokic is there because they see him as a passer. He's just a different player than the two. But really look at Embiid and Giannis. Everybody says Embiid should win MVP, or at least the people that say Embiid should win it think it's because how dominant he is on the offensive end, just how dominant of a player he is. But Giannis is dominant literally everywhere on the court, maybe outside of jump shooting. And I think he is a more dominant player than someone like Joel Embiid. So why is Giannis not getting the same MVP respect talks that someone like Embiid is getting? They're very similar players, and in my opinion, Giannis does even more. And right now, Giannis's team has more wins than the Philadelphia 76ers, and they're a higher seed. So you would think someone like Giannis would get way more talks, but he just doesn't. And I think a part of that is probably because he plays in Milwaukee, and no one really talks about Milwaukee while they're playing in Philadelphia, one of the more notorious sports cities in the entire world. So it is understandable, and I know why it's happening. I just think Giannis deserves a lot more respect for the seasons he's having than he's actually getting. And then even another huge piece of this team is Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday has been one of the most underrated guards in the entire NBA. He's been one of the best two-way guards in the NBA for years at this point. Going all the way back to when he was with the Pelicans, he's been one of the most underrated guards in the entire NBA on defense and offense. He can give you a 50-piece McNugget any night, not any night, but he did just give someone a 50-piece chicken McNugget just the other day, and he helped them win a game. But he can go for 30 or 20 any night while locking down the other team's best player on the perimeter, hands down, every single night. And that's just not something that almost anyone else in the NBA can do. And anyone else that can do that is usually looked at as an all-star level player or a superstar level player, but yet Jrue Holiday doesn't get that respect that he does deserve, and he is by far, in my opinion, the best, most underrated player in the entire NBA, and he deserves way more credit than he actually than he actually gets. And then even their team as a whole is just one of the most well-built teams in the entire NBA. Look at Brook Lopez. Despite Brook Lopez should be in a retirement home at this point due to his age, he is still an extremely productive big for them. He's learned how to shoot threes. He's spacing the floor for them. He's rebounding. He can still block shots. Like, he's still an extremely solid, productive player despite being a very old player, and bringing that veteran presence to a team like this is extremely valuable. Then even Grayson Allen, everybody's most hated white boy. Like, nobody likes Grayson Allen because of the tripping thing he did from Duke, and just from the fact that he's from Duke. No one really likes him, but even he is a very solid role player for them, and is extremely big part to what they do. He's been there for years. He knows the system in and out. So Grayson Allen's also been a very big part for them. Then they have Joe Ingles, probably the whitest guy in the NBA. Kind of a pattern going on, kind of weird. But anyway, Joe Ingles, an extremely solid floor spacer for them. He can play defense. He can just do a little bit of everything, and is one of the more underrated role players. Bobby Portis, everybody loves Bobby Portis, okay? He is an extremely fun player, but he's also very solid. I'm pretty sure he dropped like 49 for Chicago one time. Like, I'm not saying that's what he does, obviously, but he just has that capability, and for that being like their 6th, 7th, 8th man off the bench sometimes is extremely impressive. Then the other role players like Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton, Javon Carter, Goran Dragic, all those are also very good veteran presences on any NBA Finals contending team that they would love to have, and all of them, there will be no drop-off. Assuming that they're not subbing in for like Jrue, Giannis, or Chris Middleton, there will be basically no drop-off of any of those role players come in for anyone at any certain time. So that is why this Milwaukee Bucks team deserves way more credit. I think they can easily beat the Celtics in a 7-game series. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying that they definitely have the capability of doing it. They can beat the 76ers. They can beat a lot of teams in 7-game series, and I think that they should get a lot more really just credit for being the NBA Finals contending level team that they are, and they really don't get that, and I don't think that's fair for them at all. So for Mr. Dadroke Giannis himself being one of the most dominant players in the entire NBA, not getting the credit he deserves, not being in any real MVP talks, despite being equally, if not more dominant than Embiid, in my opinion. I just think Giannis is an extremely underrated player, and he's also a very nice player. You know, he's a cool guy. I know I'm glazing really hard, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to be riding the dick of the Bucks as much as I am. I'm not even a Bucks fan. I just think that they're an extremely underrated player. But I mean, team. Giannis definitely deserves way more MVP talks than he's been getting, and he hasn't really gotten any real talks at all. Jrue Holiday, like I said, just dropped 50 points on a team. One of the most underrated two-way guards. Even other NBA guards will say that. Every time you ask them on a podcast who the most underrated player in the NBA is, a lot of times they answer with Jrue Holiday. And this team overall is built extremely, extremely well. So really, overall, I think this team just deserves a lot more than they actually get credit for. And I just think that they should definitely be in the talks with the Celtics, with the Nuggets, and all these other teams as legitimate NBA Finals contenders. But unfortunately, guys, that's more for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the Bucks are underrated? Do you think they deserve more credit? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're making a point, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, it means the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day, because I have a blessed day, so you need a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo.